Good morning. It's Monday, December 26th. And today I want to talk about the ritual that takes place every 2 years. This ritual is tied to the fact that every 2 years, in the even year, we re-elect our Congress. And at the same time, we elect new Congress. And I'm sure I don't have to remind all of you that a congressman's term is only 2 years long, whereas a senator's term is 6 years. And so the rules on senators are entirely different than the rules on congressmen. So every 2 years, in the odd year, on January 3rd, Congress will be sworn in. And that date has been in effect since, I think, 1933. And it can be changed, but it can be changed only by an act of Congress itself. And I don't see any reason why they would bother changing that date. It's perfectly the correct date. It's right after the new year starts. And so on January 3rd, after all the swearing in takes place, the Republicans will control Congress, no matter what happens with George Santos. The Senate, however, is different from Congress. The Senate is divided into 3 classes for election purposes. And every 2 years, only 1/3 of the senators are elected or re-elected, allowing the other 2/3 to continue servicing our great country without any interruption, supposedly. But before any new senator can take his seat and start his legislative responsibilities, they must present his or her certificate of election and then take a prescribed oath of office in an open session of the Senate. The certificate of election issued by the governor from the incoming member state confirms that particular individual was duly elected. The state's official seal, and it is delivered to the Secretary of Senate for official recording. And then we have an opening prayer and a recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. And the Vice President of the United States, who serves as the President of the Senate, announces the receipt of all the certificates. And so following this established tradition, senators-elect are then escorted down the center aisle of the Senate chamber to the presiding officer's desk. And typically the other senator from the newly member-elected or re-elected state serves as an escort. So there's a big tradition involved with getting elected to the Senate and Congress that we, as a public, don't really see. Occasionally, the senator-elect chooses an alternative or an additional escort, such as a former senator or a family member who also served in the Senate. So we got this almost like a royal rigmarole to get accepted to take your seat in the Senate. Then the vice president, or in the vice president's absence, the president pro tempore, administers the oath of office. And senators-elect take the oath to defend the Constitution by raising their right hand and agreeing to the words spoken by the presiding officer. And I think it's worth repeating these words so we get an understanding of what these people are promising to do for our country. So the words are, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. And then each of these sworn-in members, the final step in the ceremony is the signing of his or her name on a dedicated page in the Senate oath book. Now, when I listen to these words, and I think about the people who are in the Senate and the people who are in Congress, I question whether these people actually adhere to this solemnly swearing in. because I believe that many of them are only in this business to get reelected. And so they take this oath of office. But do they really, really dedicate their lives to the country as opposed to their party or to their donors or to some other mysterious group that may come across their doorsteps? I wonder that. I have extreme misgivings about the quality of the people who are serving us in Congress and in the Senate. Not because of their personal qualifications, but because of their twisted loyalties. I think donors are more important to them than this Pledge of Allegiance. I think campaign funding far outweighs the Pledge of Allegiance in developing the loyalties of our congressmen and our senators. I think the amount of money that pours into their campaign chests is unconscionable. That money would be better spent on causes for the people of this country, not causes to get people elected. And so, while this ceremony is probably a beautiful ceremony and a wonderful thing if you could watch it and your patriotism would just pour out of your systems, but if you take a step back and listen and understand the rigmarole and understand what really, really happens in the real world after these people take office, then, in my mind, they start doing a disservice to this country by sharing their loyalties not with the words that they spoke when they are installed in office, but by their actions after the fact, when they have to take on the needs of their donors, and in some cases possibly their constituents. So I leave you with that this morning. A wonderful ceremony, very patriotic and everything, but is it really doing this country any good? So have a great day, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.